anymore, so it's a lot easier. I've had clients say, well, I can't throw this. Well, they get it in their hand and they throw it all the way to the bank and they can't believe it. They think they're a good caster overnight, but it's because that line's really helping them. So, you know, you've got to really balance out these rods correctly too. So if you're going to start streamer fishing, I mean, my recommendation would be find a stiff rod and make sure, you know, you're getting the right weight lines to get down to those fish. And really, you only need 275 and 450. You can cover pretty much all of it. I'll touch on these rods. To me, when I get into 8-weight rods, it's just a rod. It doesn't need to say sage on it, because all rods, when they get into 8 weights, they're all broomsticks. It don't matter what it is. What you're trying to do, though, is find the stiffest broomstick out there, because that's going to help you penetrate that hook. If you have a soft rod, I probably lost 4 big fish in one day. It would have been one of my best days ever streamer fishing, but this is when I was trying to figure it out. I never penetrated the hook good enough. I'd have them on, I'd play them, and then they'd get off because I didn't penetrate the hook, so I started figuring out. And I was using that Lefty Cray yellow rod, that teaching rod, that, you know, that everybody, you know, learns from. It's a yellow rod, it's a TFO, but it's a little soft. So Ty Ingram's one of my buddies, and he started throwing TFO rods to me. Well, he threw this Axiom at me one day, and this rod's real stiff. It's got 3 stripping guides too, and that really helps shoot that line. But this is really all I like. I like these little Axiom TFOs. This one's got a Billy Pate reel with a 275, and then this other one is just an Orvis rod. It's a 9-weight with a 450. And what what I'm trying to do is find a reel that will be able to pick up line real fast. Hang on, I'll show you. So you get this reel here, but I want to be able to just hit that reel and get that line up. So that's what I look for in reels when I'm streamer fishing. I try to get them on the reel. You know, if I'm stripping line in, that's another thing I'll touch on is, you know, you're stripping. It's all different on how you present these things. But one thing I figured out is they want it fast. They want you to strip. They want you to strip it real hard and just keep going, and no pause or anything like that. And always remember, if you're going to fish streamers, you definitely want to. You want to have those flies facing upstream. It's almost like if you guys were wade fishing and you had a streamer, like a woolly booger, you know, where do you get your hits? You get them on the swing, right? So where's the fly facing? Well, it's facing upstream. So if you're casting to the bank and the boat's going and the current's going this way and you're casting this way, your fly's facing downstream instead of upstream. So what you want to do is throw 45 degrees downstream and run it back to you going like this, same way you would a woolly. That's how they see them. You know, bait fish don't go downstream. Everything swims upstream. So make sure you always do that too when you're fishing these streamers. I'm going to tie a fly because we don't really have a lot of time, and I'm going to try to tie 3 flies. So I'm going to start with maybe a circus peanut first. And this is a big thing, guys. I'm telling you, I throw a lot of stuff. I fish a lot of stuff. I do a lot of fishing on my own time. And these flies are really the key for this river system. And Kelly Gallup had everything to do with this from Michigan. And I would say, you know, out of all the people I've had in my boat, most of the better fishermen are from Michigan. And they're streamer fishing up there on those river systems. The Ausable, the Manistee, the Muskegon, and you know, you got the Pere Marquette, and there's a little river called the Rogue. All those rivers are built for streamers. So we're kind of behind, really. I don't think that it's really being touched on. I think there's a few people that fish streamers here, but I don't think people go out on their free time and throw streamers. But I'm telling you guys, y'all are missing out on a bunch of big fish. So really, if it's something you can do, I mean, it's a lot of work, and you might go out there all day and only catch 1 fish, but that fish you catch is going to be pretty big. I will tell you this too. There's 2 hooks here. If anything hits this back hook, it's usually small. But anything big, it's going to always hit the front hook. It's always going to hit the head. So when I go in these trophy areas, I just cut this back hook off, you know, the bend of it. And so it's just 1 fly. And I did this at Brim last week, and we hooked 5 fish in 1 pocket. 1 pocket. We moved all 5 big browns in this 1 hole. And it's, you know where the channel is at Brim, you got to go up if the water's off on the left, if you're at Jenkins Creek. Well, there's a little eddy pool that just sits there. And they live there. They sit there all day. And find water like that. If you can make that good cast and make it count and really run it right, the majority of the time you're going to hook fish in those kind of water situations. But they also like fast water too. Especially like Forrest and I were talking, we were fishing streamers last week, and we started figuring out that these fish were actually hitting streamers at the fastest water you could ever imagine, and they were holding in it. But it had to be kind of like a cut, like the water would go in and then it would just cut out. Those fish would be right there, and the water was only a foot. But if you threw it in there and you just ran it, they'd just come over there and attack it. That's what's great about streamers is if they're going to commit, they're going to commit. So just get ready, because you're going to see them. And you're going to move a lot of big fish. And a lot of the big fish won't hit it, but you can move them and you can figure out where they live. And that's really the key. Once you figure out where these big fish live, then it's all about you going back and figuring out what they want. And just throw olive and yellow and black and tan. This tan fly right here, I went to the dam last week and we hooked a walleye and a largemouth at Bull Shoals Dam.
What's your rod tip in that fan?
Sorry. So, and I think they'd imitate that as a crayfish, you know, that color. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but that color alone was the only thing we could get those two fish to hit. And one day we got the largemouth, the next day we got the walleye. So, pretty crazy stuff. I'm going to go through these pictures real quick to show you what we've been catching, I'd say in the last, I don't know, couple months. But this is just something that I kind of created. It's just this has got 3 hooks in it. This is a sculpin that I created right here. It's the biggest sculpin. I wanted a sculpin that was big. I didn't want a small sculpin. Most sculpins you see are really, they're not really that big. This one's real big, and I hope to tie this for you guys so I can show you. It's got a cup on here. Anybody know about these cups? Yeah. Well, they work. So definitely tie flies with these cups. That seat tip will get these flies down, so you don't need to weight your flies.
Tell me about the cups.
You just kind of slide them on the front of the hook. The key is just finding the right eye that will be able to slide that, because it's just a small diameter. And I tie it down with mono. And if you put a lot of tension on that mono, like .006, you can really secure it. And it'll stretch out and kind of go more along the hook shank. So it's really secure on there. You can also fold this cup back. You can fish it 2 ways. And you can also cut a half a circle in the bottom of it to create a totally different action of the fly. I started tying these for Alaska for a guy that owns a lodge up there, and he said it works really well, so he told me to start doing it to mine, so I started doing it. And it's totally different. It kind of wobbles. And some of those things, those wobbling effects, and not just like a straight streamline with just you depending on the strip and the paws, can definitely help you out. I mean, fish kind of like that stuff. These are just circus peanuts. Basically, it's just there's 2 ways to tie this in. You can tie it with like hard mason, like a .25 or like a 25 hard mason, which is 25 pounds. Or Kelly recommends going and getting this stuff called bead-a-line from Michaels, and it's just more of a wire. But I haven't had any slippage. You know, you just got to make sure that you tie that mono really the whole way that hook shank. You don't want to tie it halfway. You know, the more thread you can wrap around it, you know, the better it's going to hold. I've never had one slip, so I just use mono. That's what I have. So basically, these are the kind of the colors that I use a lot of: olives and browns and golds. But you know, olive is really a big one. Black's a big one in low water. I don't really get a lot of them in high water. These are just some of the fish we're catching on streamers. Here's another one. This is like a smolt shad pattern I tied for Alaska. These guys dig them up there too, but here's the fish. I mean, these are just some of the fish. There's that circus peanut. That's the bottoms up. So it's just basically a circus peanut, but it's got foam on the back. It's a Kelly Gallup pattern. But there's the bass we caught. That was about a week ago. This is my wife here. She just caught that at the dam about 3 days ago. There's the walleye we caught. But this guy here, he caught all 3 of these fish on 3 casts. We went up to the dam, we made a cast. He caught this one first, then he caught this one second, and then he caught this one. So they just kept getting bigger. He got ruined. That happened like the first 30 minutes of the day, and I didn't have anything else I could do for the rest of the day. It was almost like, let's just go home, because it ain't going to get any better. Yeah. So he's ruined. That was his 2nd time fly fishing too. He's never caught a brown. That's all I want to do is catch one. He caught 3 in 3 casts. And it's probably the first time that's ever happened too for me. So I don't know what happened. I asked